Failure is often seen as something to be feared, avoided, or even ashamed of. But what if failure is not the end of the road, but rather the beginning of a greater journey? In reality, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a vital part of it. It is through failure that we gain perspective, build character, and unlock our true potential. Growth does not come when everything is going perfectly. It comes when we are tested, broken, and humbled by the lessons that only failure can teach. Every successful person has a history of defeat behind their rise. They didn't get to where they are by avoiding failure. They got there by embracing it, learning from it, and using it as fuel to grow. In life, we often equate success with straight lines and smooth roads. We think those who made it always had things figured out, but the truth is far from that. Real growth happens when our plans fall apart, when we hit rock bottom, and when we question whether we're good enough. These moments, though painful, are where growth begins. It's in these raw and vulnerable places that we find the drive to change, to push harder, and to rise above what once held us down. Failure brings us face to face with our weaknesses, and in doing so, it shows us where we need to grow. When we fail, we are given a choice to stay down or to rise, and this decision determines whether failure defeats us or develops us. Growth comes when we choose to learn from our mistakes rather than run from them. It comes when we analyze what went wrong, take responsibility, and commit to doing better next time. This process of self-reflection and correction is at the heart of true growth. It is not easy. It requires humility, patience, and persistence, but it is worth it. Each failure becomes a stepping stone, guiding us closer to our goals. Some of the greatest achievements in history were born out of repeated failures. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. He didn't see his failures as wasted efforts. He saw them as necessary steps in the process of innovation. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, and he later became one of the greatest athletes in history. J.K. Rowling faced numerous rejections before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. These stories remind us that failure is not a dead end, it's a detour towards something better. What failure also teaches us is resilience. It shows us how to keep going when things get tough. It teaches us how to rebuild from nothing, how to adapt when plans change, and how to stay strong when we feel weak. Resilience is not built through comfort and ease. It is built through struggle and perseverance. When we fail and keep moving forward, we become stronger, wiser, and more equipped to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Failure also humbles us. It strips away arrogance and pride and reminds us that we are human. It connects us to others who are struggling and makes us more compassionate. When we know what it feels like to fail, we become more supportive and encouraging of those on their own journey. We learn to celebrate progress, not just perfection. We appreciate effort, not just results, and that mindset of growth makes us better leaders, better learners, and better people. The fear of failure can be paralyzing. It can keep us from trying, from dreaming, from stepping out in faith. But once we understand that failure is not final, that it is a necessary part of becoming our best selves, we begin to take more risks and pursue our goals with courage. We stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start focusing on what could go right. We start to see failure not as something to fear, but as something to value. In the end, failure and growth are inseparable. One leads to the other. Without failure, there is no real growth. Without growth, failure has no purpose. So if you've failed, don't give up. Don't see it as the end. See it as the beginning of your transformation. Let your failure refine you, not define you. Learn from it, rise from it, and most importantly, grow through it. Because every failure carries within it the seeds of greatness. And if you water those seeds with effort, belief, and persistence, you will bloom into the person you were always meant to be. Self-doubt is one of the most common and silent battles every individual faces on their journey to success. It creeps in quietly, whispering questions like, "Am I good enough? What if I fail? Or do I really deserve this?" It often starts with comparison, looking at others who seem more successful, more confident, more accomplished, and then turning those comparisons inward. The result, paralysis. You hesitate to try to speak, to take that next step, because you've convinced yourself you're not ready or not worthy. But what if the only thing standing between you and your success is not a lack of ability, but a lack of belief? Self-doubt isn't necessarily a sign of weakness. In fact, it often shows up in people who care deeply about their goals and fear not being able to live up to their own standards. It's a form of mental protection, your brain's way of keeping you from embarrassment or disappointment. But over time, this protective instinct turns into a cage. You begin to shrink your dreams to fit your comfort zone. You stop raising your hand. You decline opportunities. And worst of all, you let your potential go untapped because you've mistaken fear for truth. The shift from self-doubt to self-belief is not always sudden. It starts with awareness, realizing that the voice inside your head that says you can't is not a fact but a thought, and thoughts can be challenged. You begin to question the doubts instead of obeying them. You ask, what evidence do I have that I can't do this? More often than not, the answer is none. It's just fear masquerading as logic. But fear is a liar, and self-belief is the truth waiting to be discovered. Self-belief is not arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about recognizing your own worth without needing validation. It's the quiet confidence that says, I don't know everything, but I am capable of learning. I may fail, but I won't quit. I may be scared, but I won't let fear make my decisions. This mindset doesn't eliminate doubt, but it overrides it. It gives you the courage to try even when you're uncertain and to keep going even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Believing in yourself doesn't come from one motivational quote or a single success. It comes from repeatedly showing up for yourself. Every time you push through fear, every time you speak up despite the shaking in your voice, every time you finish what you started, you're building self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of self-belief. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who learns from mistakes, someone who can rise after falling. The more you keep promises to yourself, the louder your inner voice of belief becomes. It's also important to remember that everyone, even the most successful people, struggles with self-doubt. What sets them apart is not the absence of fear, but the presence of faith. They believe that their effort matters, that their journey is worthwhile, and that growth comes from doing, not just thinking. They've failed, they've been rejected, they've felt unworthy, but they didn't let those feelings stop them. They moved forward anyway. You are no different. You have dreams, talents, and a voice that deserves to be heard. But nothing changes until you change how you see yourself. When you stop waiting for others to believe in you and start believing in yourself, everything shifts. You begin to make decisions from a place of confidence rather than fear. You take action, and action builds momentum. Momentum creates progress, and progress proves to you that you are, in fact, capable. Self-belief also attracts opportunities. When you carry yourself with quiet confidence, people notice. They trust those who trust themselves. But even if no one else sees it yet, your belief in yourself must come first. Don't wait to feel ready. Start before you're ready. Don't wait for perfection. Act in your imperfection. Don't wait for permission. Give yourself permission to try, to fail, and to grow. Your mind is a battlefield, and every day you choose which voice to amplify, the voice of doubt or the voice of belief. Choose belief, even if it's small at first, even if it trembles, because every great journey begins with one step forward, taken not in certainty, but in faith. And that step could be the start of everything you've ever wanted. In the end, self-doubt may never fully go away, but self-belief can grow stronger, louder, and more consistent if you feed it daily with action, truth, and perseverance. You are not your doubts, you are your determination, and your journey to success begins the moment you believe you are worthy of it. The comfort zone is a safe, predictable place. It's where routines rule, challenges are minimal, and risks are rare. For many people, it's a place of refuge, a space where they feel in control. There's nothing inherently wrong with comfort. It offers stability, peace, and sometimes even healing. But while comfort may protect you from failure, it also shields you from growth. The truth is, no one ever achieved greatness by staying where it's easy. Growth begins the moment you step outside what's familiar and take the risk of exploring the unknown. Risk-taking is often misunderstood. People associate it with recklessness or unnecessary danger, but real, meaningful risk is not about being careless, it's about being brave. It's choosing to try something new even if success isn't guaranteed. It's applying for the job you feel unqualified for. It's starting the business you've only dreamed of. It's speaking up, showing up, or standing out when it's easier to stay silent or small. Risk-taking is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear. It's recognizing that the cost of staying in the comfort zone is far greater than the cost of trying and failing. One of the most deceptive things about the comfort zone is that it gives the illusion of security. You might think that by avoiding risk, you're staying safe. But in reality, staying stuck is its own kind of danger. Over time, comfort becomes stagnation. You stop growing. You stop dreaming. You stop challenging yourself to become better. Life becomes repetitive, and your potential begins to shrink. What once felt comfortable eventually becomes confining. You weren't created to simply exist. You were meant to evolve, to stretch, and to expand into the fullest version of yourself. Risk invites discomfort. It challenges you to think differently, act boldly, and live intentionally. It often involves uncertainty and vulnerability, but these are the very ingredients needed for transformation. When you take risks, you force yourself to develop new skills, build resilience, and strengthen your problem-solving abilities. You also discover parts of yourself you didn't know existed, courage you didn't think you had, ideas you didn't know you were capable of, strength you didn't believe you could carry. These discoveries don't happen in the comfort zone. They happen when you choose to do what scares you. The fear of failure is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. But failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey toward it. Every successful person has a story of risk behind their rise. They faced rejection, criticism, and doubt, but they kept moving forward. They understood that risk doesn't always guarantee reward, but it always guarantees learning, and with every lesson comes progress. Without risk, there is no innovation, no breakthrough, and no achievement worth celebrating. It's important to understand that taking risks doesn't mean making reckless decisions. It means making bold, informed choices that align with your values and vision. It means weighing your options, preparing as best you can, and then moving forward with faith rather than fear. Not every risk will pay off immediately, but every risk you take pushes you closer to the edge of your limits, and eventually past them. Stepping out of your comfort zone also builds confidence. The more you challenge yourself, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable. Each time you succeed, your belief in yourself grows, and even when you fail, you learn that failure isn't fatal. You discover that you can survive setbacks, pivot when needed, and rise again stronger. This kind of confidence can't be taught, it's earned through action. Many people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the perfect conditions, or a sign that it's safe to leap. But the right time rarely comes. If you wait too long, your dreams begin to fade. The discomfort of taking a risk is temporary, but the regret of never trying can last a lifetime. You don't have to take massive leaps every day. Sometimes, small steps outside your comfort zone lead to the biggest transformations. Say yes to something you'd usually avoid. Try something new. Speak when you'd normally stay quiet. Every small risk builds momentum. In the end, you have two choices: remain in your comfort zone and accept a life of limited growth, or embrace risk and unlock the endless possibilities that await on the other side. The life you truly want, the impact, the success, the fulfillment, exists just beyond what's comfortable. And while stepping into the unknown may be scary, it's also where you come alive. So don't settle for safe. Choose growth. Choose risk. Choose to live a life that demands your courage and rewards your faith.